this fund, if they do receive it, some projects do get more than 1 year support, and that's fine, but there's a threshold of no longer than 5 years of support for this particular fund. So, we make sure that they follow that process as well. With this particular fund, we do the letter of intent, which reduces the amount of full proposals submitted, because there's about 31 applicants typically that fill out a letter of intent. And then when they complete those and send those to us, we can screen those with a subcommittee of volunteers to say, no, only these ones actually qualify for the Helping the Working Poor Fund when they fill out the actual criteria for it. The programs, they have to provide a comprehensive delivery of services, job training and placement, child care, transportation, food and shelter, services that respond to the needs of the working poor in Maricopa County. This also allows for suggestions of collaborative proposals. What happens with this fund is that an applicant can apply through the letter of intent process, and another applicant can apply. And if one meets some of the needs of the fund and another one meets some of the other needs of this particular fund, we can tell them to collaborate and submit an application together, where there will be one of them being a lead agency. And it actually helps us to see the letters of intent and be able to provide that feedback back to the agency and then leave it up to them, these particular agencies, if they're going to collaborate and submit together. Next screen, Don. With our process, there's a subcommittee of a larger investment panel. Typically, the leadership of those panels are part of the subcommittee. All LOIs, or letters of intent, are read by at least 3 volunteers, and then the volunteers meet to discuss those and determine what agencies meet the criteria and then who will move forward. We also use staff to screen these letters of intent, and staff input is allowed, and volunteers see the staff input is valuable in their conversations when they're discussing who's going to move forward and continue and who's going to be, told, no, you didn't make it for this year, and the reasons why. The staff work with the volunteers to ensure realistic levels for programs to move forward. We want it to be a true screening process. If there are too many requests for the amount of money that they're not going to be able to fund anyhow when they make their allocation decisions, we want to make sure the numbers are reasonable for them to work with later on. So we really work with them to screen out agencies during this first process before even the applications are submitted. Next screen, Don. This is the cover sheet that the agency fills out as far as just basic information, telling us what maybe program alignment they have, the program status, what geographic area they're going to serve, and then also some checklist kind of questions, their mission statement, that sort of thing, what their total agency budget is. This is just a cover sheet that goes along with the next part. Next slide. So basically the letters must be no longer than 2 pages. It must be attached to the cover page, a brief description of the organization, a program description. They have to share the design of the program, including how all the required areas, so the job training and placement, the child care, transportation, food, and shelter, how is that all going to be addressed? How are they going to provide all of those services to their clients? Share the program expected outcome measurement results and how the organization will measure client benefits, and then state the amount they're requesting for funding. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Mary Beth. Okay, so we've got quite a bit of time left here for questions and answers and discussions. So please, you guys, just use the little raise hand icon if you want me to unmute you so you can ask a question, or if you're more comfortable to use the chat box and chat it to me, I'd be happy to ask the question for you. Or I suppose I could just unmute everybody and let you guys talk. Why don't we just do that? Just 1 second here. Okay, I believe I have everybody unmuted now. Tammy, I believe you raised your hand. Did you want to start off with a question?
I did have a question for Mary Beth. I was curious, the volunteers that you have to review the letter of inquiry, are those same volunteers the ones that review the applications, or do you have a separate volunteer group for that? And if so, why or why not?
Okay. They are. They are a part, okay, so the volunteers that are the subcommittee that read the letters of intent are typically the panel leadership, the chairs and co-chairs of that particular panel. They also are some veteran volunteers that have been on that panel or know these programs or know the fund very well because they know the strict eligibility criteria that the agencies have to meet to even qualify. So those type of volunteers are the volunteers that are sitting on the subcommittee. But they do also sit on the committee that reviews the applications. Each application is read by 5 volunteers on the total panel of volunteers, which include some of these subcommittee members and some, new volunteers or volunteers that are not on the subcommittee.
Okay, I've unmuted everybody so you guys can just ask a question or start your discussion.
Dawn, this is Angela.
Hi, Angela.
Hi. I just had a quick question. Will we be able to access these slides later?
Yes. Actually, I'm going to get with Damien, and so we can insert the 3 that we're missing out of there, and then we'll make them available on our website.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You guys can have access to it. You're welcome.
This is Nancy from Berkshire United Way. So my question to Tammy is, it's Mary Beth, right?
Yeah.
Just presented.
Yeah, that was
Sorry. So why do you use the LOI as a screening tool only for this particular area of funding? Why don't you use it in your broader funding area?
Great question. The Helping the Working Poor Fund, like I said, it's very prescriptive, so if they have to meet specific criteria. The fund is open. It's an open process, so anybody can apply. For other funding, it's more strict. So we have agencies that we've historically funded, and it's not that it's an open process and just anybody can apply for that funding. That funding, which we call Results That Matter funding, that goes into the allocable pool, that particular fund is just agencies that we have specifically chosen to fund. It's not an open process with any agency coming in to apply for that funding. In that sense, those agencies report on specific outcome measurements that are common and have been commonly chosen for outcomes and for their indicators and for any measurements that they'll be providing. So at this point, like those agencies, they report on those specific things.
Can I follow up on that for a moment and say,
Sure.
so how did